Hey there! I cannot begin to tell you how happy I am to be back in nature, back at Cressbrook Dale. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, it's so beautiful to be back in nature. And having got back from Vegas yesterday afternoon, we took off at like 9 p.m. on Thursday, and obviously lost 8 hours. The 8 hours we gained on the way out there. So landed at about just after 2 p.m. yesterday, and I can't even begin to tell you how much that trip has made me appreciate my life, living here in the Derbyshire Dales, living in Bakewell. I live very close to the church, which is a beautiful energy, and then to come out here to Cressbrook today with Kobe. I haven't seen Kobe for a week. Oh, I just missed him so much. Oh, and he slept with me last night. It was so sweet that he just kind of made a beeline and curled into me and slept with me all night. And now I've just brought him out to Cressbrook for a forest walk and a run. And yeah, I mean, the trip to Vegas, I had an invitation much earlier in the year, so way back in the summer, just back when Saturn was about to retrograde. And yeah, I am a someone who kind of says yes and shows up. I'm a great believer in saying yes to opportunities and going along with them and just trusting in the process. And of course, it's years actually since I've been to Vegas. I last went when I was about 24. So, oh my goodness, that is like 34 years ago. And it was very different then. But now it's completely been overtaken by kind of capitalism, and it's just like a vast prison, really. So expensive and so unnatural, and yeah. So it really has made me appreciate living here in amidst nature. I mean, oh my goodness. Oh, and it's so peaceful here. Just the noise of the breeze and the brook. I can hear the brook running. Oh, just this peace. It's like no loud music or slot machines jangling. Oh, such a contrast. And I was really contemplating, it's like, what am I doing here, you know, and just realizing that, you know, having just written the book, Liberation, I mean, I had the download for it in 2020, and it's kind of like I've been living the material since 2020, and then finally this year spending, I really sort of started the writing. Although I announced it in bulk, it took me some weeks to actually get started with the writing. And the first chapter that I wrote was actually on procrastination, although it is actually chapter 8 in the book. Because I actually sort of wrote it as I felt inspired. And so the first chapter is about procrastination. It is about that, like, getting on with a creative project and how to actually get started and push through all the resistance, which always comes up. You know, whenever you do a project or a business or write a book or whatever it might be, you know, resistance kicks in, and you get procrastination and all other forms of resistance, and all of those feelings like, you know, who am I to write a book? And, you know, and I actually wrote 3 sections to procrastination because it came up again and again on the journey, and even towards the end of that perfectionism of like, oh, it's not good enough. And then I just got to the point where I just thought, I've just got to, that's it, done. Just got to put it to print and just trust and accept that, you know, this strive for perfectionism is actually part of the false matrix. this got to get 10 out of 10. People are going to get their red pen out and criticise. Oh my goodness. It's a lot of leaves fallen since I last came, and it's quite slippy here. But getting down to the steps, these steps are a real boon. And so yes, having spent the last 9 months really writing the content of Liberation and then finally getting it printed, and I'm so delighted with the way it's turned out, because so much can go wrong, with printed projects, and I know that from essentially running a mail order business, which kind of Red Letter Days was. We did a brochure, so I've experienced many problems with print and production over the years, so I know how much can go wrong. So it was such a delight that the finished product is amazing. I mean, I'm so super pleased with it. But I get that, oh my goodness, having written a book on liberation, it's like I'm being forced to live the content, be the living embodiment of liberation, and so being taken deep into the false matrix. So, I mean, I don't think you can get more false matrix than being in Las Vegas, actually, of all the places on the planet. I mean, at least Far Eastern places, like Bangkok. I spent a lot of time in Bangkok when I used to run a silver business. We did a lot of importing. I spent a lot of time in Bangkok on buying trips. And, places like Tokyo, which is actually amazing, but there's a spiritual aspect. So at least when you go to the Far East cities, there's lots of temples and altars, and you can find the spirituality amidst the false matrix. But it was quite interesting that it was completely devoid of anything, no sort of great cathedrals like you get in other cities, amidst all of the skyscrapers and stuff. You do get those amazing pieces of architecture, don't you? Like amazing cathedrals that, I mean, the masons, like I'm talking about before it became corrupted. But in terms of the original temple builders, shall we call them, I mean, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing with these amazing buildings and creating these structures, like Bakewell Church, actually, which was originally Knights Templar, and then it was added on to over the years. But it's got a very interesting history. So even amidst the cities, you have got these oases where you can just go and sit in the church and you can find that place of peace. And of course, you can find that place of peace anywhere through meditation and stillness and just tuning in. But it's easier. It's easier. It's easier when you're out in nature, or when you're sitting on a mountaintop, or when you're sitting in a church or by a river or in a forest. It's much easier than when you are in somewhere like Las Vegas, which is kind of designed for dissonance. Right, Kobe really wants to go across the brook. Here we go. This is the Cressbrook. Oh, so beautiful. The chi. I mean, you just, air is much more than just oxygen. It's life force energy. It's golden chi. So yeah, I get that having written Liberation, I am being called to be the living embodiment of how to liberate from the false matrix. And it's quite interesting because I went through another little drama wrangle with the false matrix, with the justice system, before I left the UK. And when I got back, I had received a letter confirming my position from the court, which was a really beautiful thing, to have stood in my power against the insanity of the system. And so there's a big part of liberation which is about common law and talking about the false matrix and how the justice system, I'll use that in inverted commas, has been very deliberately created as a deception to trick us and entrap us. And so when you have awareness of that and you stand in your power to the system and say no, and you use the tools and techniques, common law, against it, it collapses. It's very interesting. And I took on the holiday on the plane. I was reading putting a stopper or putting a cork in the bottle of death. It's a strange title book, but it's basically a book. Kelly Slade arranged for Gary to send it to me. There's actually 2 books, but I only took one of them, and I was reading it while I was away. It's a really brilliant book, and it's all about the tricks and the traps of the false matrix and everything from spelling to numerology to the legal system and how, all of the ways and the symbolism and the language, everything that is done to trick us and entrap us into this false matrix. So what I'm saying is, whilst Kobe, this way, no, not up there. Whilst I have written the book, it's almost like it's the opening of the symphony. And I had a very strong, people have been asking me for an audio book, and I had a very strong inspiration to create like a Bandcamp album of the book, and to do it that way, to do it almost like an album on Bandcamp. And then I'm also going to do the videos. But I'm really getting that it is about living the material and enriching and embellishing the material. But the book is an amazing starting point for that. And I'm very conscious as well that there are so many orders for the book which I need to get out. So I'm going to be spending all week on dispatching the books. So if you have ordered one and you haven't received it yet, I did manage to get some out before I went to Las Vegas, but I'm going to devote so much time to liberation, to getting the copies out to everyone who ordered, and also to doing the audio version and the video version. And the other big thing, which is looming, which I'm super excited about, is the Lakshmi Mandela. So there are 12 amazing people joining me on that. So there's a mandala of 13, and it's commencing on the Year of the Dragon on the 10th of February, which is actually my father's birthday, which is very symbolic. 10th of February. My father died back in 1999, but the 10th of February is a very symbolic day. And my partner in Source, the co-creator of Source, Kevin Stein, that was his birthday. So when I met him and he said, I asked him, because I'm interested in people's astrology, and when he said his birthday was the 10th of February, I got that it was a great sign that he was a gift from my father. And so whenever anyone shows up who has the 10th of February as their birthday, it's always very symbolic to me. So that is when the Year of the Dragon commences, and that is when we're commencing the Lakshmi Mandala. But in advance of that, I am coming to meet every one of the participants. Every one of the mandala I'm actually going to visit in their home. And it's always fascinating when you do any kind of group mentoring or program or community. It's always fascinating to see who shows up in the space and what dynamics start unfolding, because in truth, every mandala, every community, every relationship, every group is a healing opportunity. And it's fascinating to see who shows up and what shows up in that space. And and to journey together on that. And I really get that all of the participants are in that space of being open and open to the journey, because this is the other challenge when you have a group. So I wasn't planning to talk about this, but it feels like appropriate. Is when you have a group, it's tempting. It can be that there is a dynamic there to just kind of for it to descend. There is the potential. Let's put it like this, and I've had it before because I've done group works. I've held groups, mentoring programs since 2010. So this will be, where are we? 2024. This will be my 14th year of running group programs. And I have learnt over the years about the persecutor victim rescuer dynamic, which quite often shows up. What can happen, especially when people are enrolling on a program where, typically when you enroll on a program, it's because there's something that you are aspiring to, or something you want to transform in your life, or maybe you want to focus energy on a creative project or launching a business. So it's usually rooted in wanting to change your life in some way. And so anytime you want to change your life in some way, it's usually because you're at some level dissatisfied with what's already in your life. So of course, if there's something that is missing in your life that you want to expand upon or draw in or manifest in, it's kind of an expression of discontentment at some level with your life. And so usually there is something needs to be cleared. It's usually there's a block in the way of whatever it is you want to manifest. There's some reason why you haven't done the thing that you want to manifest, or some reason why you haven't got your dream relationship, or why money's not flowing, or why creativity's not flowing, or there's something blocking you writing that book, as I mentioned about procrastination. When it comes to clearing that block, it's usually that is where this kind of trauma healing comes in. And healing is it's a challenging process, because essentially we all have trauma of some kind of childhood stuff that we need to clear. I mean, the false matrix is deliberately set up to create traumatized people. And think about particularly those of us who have parents who maybe lived during the war, or whose own parents were affected strongly by the war. Wars are created specifically to create trauma, and that trauma cascades down through families, from parents to children, and in families and relationships. And so there's a huge amount of healing, and the temptation is, when there's healing to be done, instead of actually going deep with your healing and really kind of fully feeling those places of pain and suffering that you probably froze when you were a child. So good to see Kobe out in nature, free, getting in touch with his animal instincts. Okay, let's go up. Steps have finished, so it's a bit slippy here. Anyway, so yeah, so it's strong work to fully feel. Fully feeling is fully healing. So bringing back online in your adult self, where you've got the ability to deal with the trauma that maybe you couldn't deal with when you were little. So bringing that back online, it's strong work. And obviously doing plant medicine, ayahuasca is very, very powerful for that, because it basically kind of detaches your ego, and it forces you to look at the demons and to fully feel and to purge all of that trauma. So it's strong work, and the temptation is, instead of doing that work and fully feeling, because there's so much sitting on top of that trauma, like anger. Anger usually sits over trauma and grief and shame and all those things. So what happens is you get this persecutor victim rescuer dynamic kicking in, which is usually is a good sign that there's unresolved trauma. And it's like a giant distraction, trying to take the spotlight off what is truly going on. I always notice when that dynamic kicks in, it's like and refusing to get involved in persecutor, victim, rescuer, drama, triangle dynamics. So really holding that space of love and healing. And it doesn't actually matter what you choose to do in life, what you choose to embark on, whether it's creating a community, acquiring some land, writing a book, opening to a relationship, creating a business. It doesn't matter what it is. It will bring up all of your stuff, should we put it like that. It's a great opportunity for healing and expansion and unblocking whatever's standing in the way of flow, because really life in truth is effortless. Nature's showing that the whole time. Nature is in effortless flow, and the leaves, they don't hold on to anything, do they? They don't hold on to their leaves. They just let their leaves go, and they trust that in the spring there will be new growth. So letting go of all of the things that are part of the false matrix, or a part of our old programming, which are unhelpful. It's so good to purge that through and to let it all go and to unblock and to choose to be a conscious creator in the manifestation of the world that you do want. And it's so beautiful to be amidst that manifestation of manifesting beautiful land and beautiful people and relationships, and noticing when things are out of dissonance, which is a sure sign that there's something blocked, something which is coming up for healing. And breathe. So apologies if this was a ramble, but it is just so beautiful to be back here at Cressbrook Dale, back in the Peak District generally. I mean, just coming back to my beautiful home in Bakewell yesterday, to my boys and to Kobe. Oh, it's just so sweet. Having been for a week in Las Vegas, which is like the absolute antithesis of all that is natural and wholesome, and just this pristine chi of being so close to nature. So I'm sending you so much love, and thank you for watching. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for being part of this amazing journey of healing and discovery and speaking truth and liberation. Bye for now.